I had always been auditioning for stuff for Disney. Like I would, because they have a lot of shows at Walt Disney World. I would get close, but not ever get cast. They just had open video calls a year prior and didn't hear anything from it. And so then a year later, when I'm in this new job as a manager, I get a phone call from Florida and I was like, that's kind of weird. And they're basically like, hey, so we saw your video and we were wondering if you could just like send us a few more videos of you singing. And so I did it. Then like a week later, they're like, all right, we want you to come on to Disney Cruise Line and be Mary Poppins.
Whitney, hello.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. I would say it's been forever, but it genuinely has been like 3 or 4 days.
It
Like
has,
we
but
do
there's so
keep
much
on.
happening in life.
Whitney Daniels, we have known each other for a while now. I feel like we met through work, but we have like hung out outside of work. We've celebrated birthdays with each other, so this feels like a real
Hmm.
friendship to me.
Yeah, it's so nice.
I'm happy to have you on the show because like I'm so inspired by you. I'm so inspired by all of my creative
Gosh.
friends. Like you guys genuinely blow my mind every single time I talk to you guys. Just with the cool and exciting things that you have going on or the things that you've done before. I forgot this is
That's
my.
so nice.
For those who do not know, Whitney Daniels is an actor. She's a singer. She hits a 1-2 for us. You
Just a one,
have
two.
No, actually, like you were just telling me about tap dancing classes, though. Are you still into that?
You know, the tap shoes, we let them rest for over a week. Maybe we'll get back into it.
But you have a regional theater experience playing in shows like Titanic, Dreamgirls, and My Fair Lady. You have Walt Disney Resort and Cruise Line experience. You were Princess Tiana.
I was good friends with Princess Tiana, as they
Oh,
say.
you were good friends with Princess Tiana. You were ensemble in Aladdin and Frozen, Mary Poppins, Lady Chamomile, too.
Yes, yes. Lady Chamomile, she was a cute little character that they made specifically for the cruise line to help with like tea parties and such.
When I tell you that's actually essential, I drink chamomile every night. I don't think anything like relaxes me better than that.
She's great.
You are literally such an icon, and so I am so thankful that you had some time for me today.
Of course. I love speaking to you. You're an icon too, by the way. I feel like every day I'm learning more of all the little things that you do and that you're interested in. So just saying.
Oh my gosh, I love that for us. This is growth. This is evolving. What was your introduction to musical theater?
Well, I mean, I remember like being in preschool, we had like, a little Sunday school choir that we'd have to sing in all the time. And my mom specifically likes to say this. She says that like I would be the loudest person in the choir and the teacher would have to tell me to be quiet. And ever since then, I became like a bit of a recluse. And I'm much more shy, but I used to be very loud and like whatever when I was super young, but getting reprimanded by the teacher, I didn't like that. So I said, stay quiet. But don't worry because I kept going and my journey into musical theater was kind of a weird one because first I did choir like in elementary school and then I decided to join band. And so I played the flute and that was actually going to be my thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to become like a direct conductor and I'm going to like maybe like I never really wanted to teach, but I was like, maybe I'll go down the route of like teaching music or something. But like my main thing was like, I'm going to go to college playing and like, really excel with the flute and all that. But then my high school had auditions for their musical my freshman year, and it was Grey Gardens, which is not a show that's done very often, especially in high school. It's kind of a bit more, um, I would say, obscure. Just not like a. It's about an actual. What's her name? I should know. Her name is Edie. I can't think of her last name right now, but it's actually like a real person in real life. Like there's a whole documentary about her. Drew Barrymore played her in the doc, or like in the what do you call that? The live version. Yeah, it was like a movie about Edie, and she kind of had like a relationship with JFK and like that family and stuff like that. And it kind of just talks about her and her mom and how like interesting their life was and stuff. But anyway, so I auditioned for it and I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to get cast or anything, like, because I'm not because we also had show choir and they were like kind of like the cool kids, which is surprising because you think of like Glee and how they were all made fun of, but like people actually liked our show choir in school. But anyway, I wasn't part of it. So I was like, they don't really know who I am. But they liked me and I got to, have a little solo moment like with this random choir scene. And from there, I was able to join show choir and I really loved it. And I was like, oh, wait, I kind of really like doing like singing and like, I mean, I always loved to sing, like, growing up. But this was like, oh, there's a whole other venture with like being in shows and everything. So that's kind of what sparked it. I was kind of living like a Hannah Montana life doing show choir and marching band. And like I would have to like switch between rehearsals and stuff to like make everything work. But then like by senior year, I was like, singing is really what I want to do. So I just focused on the show choir and musical theater. And then I went to school to college for music performance because I feel like this is a very long story. I'm sorry. But
No, it's okay. Do it. Do
okay,
it.
my senior year of high school, we did Phantom of the Opera for our musical. Yes. I got cast as Carlotta, and she's like the operatic soprano diva of the show. And so I was a pretty good singer, but not into that realm. Like I was like an alto, and they're like, you're going to sing these high soprano notes. And so my teacher, I, my choir director, he recommended someone to get voice lessons with. And it was one of the professors at the college that I went to, that I ended up going to. And when she heard my voice, she was like, oh, you actually have a really good voice for opera. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I'm just a girl trying to sing, like, whatever pop tune is out. But it
Yeah.
never really suited my voice. Like, I actually was very much like more suited towards opera. So my voice teacher, Ann Benson, love her. She kind of coached me and I actually just kept going with her. And she ended up being my voice teacher throughout all of college. So I kind of I had to learn opera, had to learn to sing in different languages like Italian, German, French, and all of that. And it was, I feel like, really, it really helped figure out how to use my voice properly. And I was also given the benefit of that. My voice teacher knew that opera just kind of fell on to me, but it wasn't something that I was like really intrigued in. And she knew that I also wanted to do musical theater and like jazz and stuff like that. So I also got to delve into more than just opera and classic music, but actually get to do musicals. And I got to do jazz band, and like we had to do like recitals at the end of the year. And so I got to incorporate all of those different elements in my end of year recitals. And yeah, it's just kind of been like a whirlwind of like dabbling in so many different things.
Yeah. It
So
seems like
yeah,
these things are like literally attracted to you.
I guess so in a way. And from there, I kind of took a pivot and started working at like theme parks, like to sing and dance. So that's kind of how the trail began to me stepping out from opera and doing more musical theater.
Were you still in school when you started at theme parks?
I think the first one I did, I'm trying to remember exactly. You think I would know my own history, but I don't. I think actually I did my first theme park like right when I graduated from college, but I like during the summer I did like a random musical in Charleston, and um that's I'm remembering everything. So I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and there's not like a ton of musical theater there. There is a really great community theater, and that's what I would do when I wasn't like in an opera or something and I had like downtime with school. I would do shows there. And so that's what kind of also made the train go for being like, oh, I don't think opera is actually my thing. I actually want to do more musical theater. So I did my first show there, and it was like their Christmas show, very basic, like just a good way to step my toes into like knowing what that community was about. And then from there, I got to do shows like Spamalot. I got to be Esmeralda in Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was probably one of my favorite roles that I've done there. And just so many great musicals, and I made so many good friends from there. So that's kind of what I did throughout college. And then when I booked like my first professional job, it was working at like the theme park in North Carolina called Carowinds. And I got to do their Christmas shows there. Um, and yeah, from there, I kind of started to go to things like they have like this thing called SETC, which is basically like the Southern Eastern Theater Conference. And so a bunch of theaters, theme parks, like just basically entertainment industries that need to hire people for shows, they would all come together and you would have 60 seconds to do a monologue and a song. And you just have to showcase it for all the people in the room, plus the other auditionees in your group. And it's very nerve wracking. And from there, you wait like a few hours and then they'll just post a list. And like, if any of those theaters or whatever want to see you for a callback or something like that, you'd go see them and you'd be at this like giant like center, like finding the room, going to the room and auditioning for them for whatever show that they think that you potentially could be good for. So I did that. And I ended up working at a children's theater um, in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's the Children's Theater of Cincinnati, and I got to do shows there, and I was like a part of a little touring company, and we did like um, our version of The Wizard of Oz, and we also did like a story about Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta Scott King,
And you
and
played Coretta Scott
yes, I
King.
was Coretta Scott King. But then we also did like a Christmas show and I played a penguin. So like very levels, diversity, range, if you will. My acting journey is so random all over the place. I got to do like summer stock shows where you do like 3 shows in a summer and you're learning like them all consecutively and things like that. So there's so much that has happened.
Do you think each thing that you've done has like is leading you to like the ultimate goal? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what the ultimate goal is. I mean, I think overall what I want is to be able to do a job that makes me happy and can like also pay my bills. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be Broadway per se, but is that one of the dreams? Yeah, of course. I would love to be on Broadway performing in a show, but I do think everything that I've done so far has helped me get there. I feel like it was a weird journey to get there because, I wasn't in like the BFA musical theater program that a lot of people go to for in college. Um, but I feel like I was able to make the right connections because honestly, a lot of this industry is having the right connections and working for the right people that can recommend you to that next step and say like, oh, she did well here, she would do great here, like if someone's asking for a recommendation type thing. um because from the children's theater, it was like I was working there and then COVID happened. So we basically weren't able to perform anymore. And I kind of had to completely pivot and, just I was while I was doing that job, I was also working at Ulta as just like, doing being a beauty advisor, giving people recommendations for makeup and stuff. And so that became my full-time job basically. And I became a manager and I was like, okay, maybe this is the route I'm going to go down now. I'm just going to like really dive into the beauty industry because that's always something I've been interested in, and like maybe I'll move my way up and work in that company. And then it was like a month after I had really settled into that job, I randomly got a phone call, and it was like from a number in Florida. And I had always been auditioning for stuff for Disney, like I would because they have a lot of shows at Walt Disney World, and it wasn't that far of a drive from South Carolina to go there to audition for things, but nothing had ever really happened. I would get close, but not ever get cast. I like sent in a video submission because they just had open video calls like a year prior and didn't hear anything from it. And so then a year later, when I'm in this new job as a manager, I get a phone call from Florida and I was like, that's kind of weird. I feel like I should, like, they left a voicemail. So I was like, I'm going to take my break. And so I go and listen to it, and they're basically like, "Hey, so we saw your video, and we were wondering if you could just like send us a few more videos of you singing a couple of songs, and we'll go from there." And I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" Like it was so out of the blue. I really thought nothing came of that video from a year prior, and so I did it. I had to like sing something from Mary Poppins, and I had to sing something from The Lion King. Then like a week later they're like, all right, we want you to come on to Disney Cruise Line and be Mary Poppins and all this stuff. And I was like, what is going on? It was truly crazy, but I think it happened when it needed to because COVID was really hard, like everyone was going through it. We were all just trying to survive.
Mm.
And it was definitely what I needed. And I feel like from there, things really have progressed, I feel like, in my career. I was
Mhm.
able to work for them for like almost 2 years, I think. And from there, they had auditions for Shanghai Disney Resort. And they have a show there that has Princess Tiana, Rapunzel, and like all these other characters. And they each sing their own song. And so I sent in a video submission for that. I had interviews with them and then I ended up booking that job. So I was able to work in China for a year. And that was kind of crazy, kind of wild. It was still like COVID times when I first started. So that was an interesting life to live, having to get a
I
COVID
wanna know
test every
about
day.
life.
It was crazy. Like
Was it like
when I
2021-ish or still 2020?
2022, I
Okay.
believe. Maybe? Gosh. Hold on. Let me look back at my life in photos. That's how I look at
No,
everything now.
literally, I mean, I'm gonna get into it later, but I'm just so fascinated about like the moving and the way that your life literally changes in a week, like as an actor. Like, I love that.
Truly. It's very, sometimes things are
Like,
just
you can
very
wake
last
up
minute.
tomorrow and your life be different in
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing to me. That's so exciting.
It's amazing, but also a little scary. But yes, it was in 2022.
Okay.
Like I got the job while I was still working on the boat. So like I was like trying to it because you don't really have Wi-Fi that often. So trying to like do interviews with someone all the way in China, getting the right time zone while you're in the middle of the ocean, crazy. But because of COVID, it was very like up and down, like what like if there were outbreaks or not. So like my start date kept getting pushed back because something would happen and I'd be like and I was like packed, ready to go. And then like you'd find out like, okay, you're gonna have to wait like 2 more weeks before you can leave. So it was a very like like you just didn't know what was going to happen. You're like, when am I actually say goodbye to my family and stuff like that? But eventually we did get there. I had to like quarantine for like a week and a half, maybe, or maybe like 8 days. And then I like moved into my own apartment. We were all like in our own apartment complex, like all the cast. And honestly, it was like they had great accommodations. You had like a 2 bedroom apartment to yourself. You had house cleaning that came by it like twice a week. You got like China. What I love is that everything is literally through your phone. Like you don't need anything else. And you could just order your groceries, order a taxi. Like it's so easy to like just get anything delivered straight to your door. Like you don't actually have to step out of the house if you don't want to. So like that is a nice thing. Like if you did get sick or something, you could just stay inside and still get everything you needed.
Yeah.
Um, and everything was just so clean there. Like the transportation, the subway system. If we are ever able, like, I feel like it's going to take a long time for us to ever reach the level of China's subway system because it's so clean, it's so safe. Like you have to go through security just to get in there and go through like metal detectors and stuff. But like you felt very safe in China.
Yeah.
Like you could walk the streets alone at 3 a.m. and you'd be okay. I mean, you probably shouldn't, but
Yeah.
it's an
Like,
option. It was really cool. I mean, COVID made things scary sometimes because, you did have to get tested every single day. And like if you were positive, or even if you were just next to someone, like in the same room with someone that was positive, you would still be collectively part of that group and you'd have to be quarantined for a bit. So that was kind of like nerve wracking sometimes. And you just had to be really safe and clean and wear your mask and all that. But eventually, those things, like all the COVID rules, just dropped. Like once things became safer and they had all the vaccines and stuff. So once that dropped, everything was back to normal. And I felt like I really actually got to explore Asia and like visit other places because it was so easy to buy a plane ticket and just like go to Hong Kong, go to see the Great Wall of China and Beijing. And like, I went to Seoul, Korea. And like on my way back here, I went to Tokyo as well. So that was really fun getting to travel and like see so many different places and meet people and like people were very fascinated by um expats is what we're called, but just anyone that's from outside of China because there is a lot of what do they call it, censoring there. So like there isn't Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, so like they just don't get to see all the things that we get to see. They have their own apps. Like, like everyone was on, like once
Right.
TikTok was shutting down. Yeah, they call it Red Note, but we called it Red Book when we were there. So,
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, that's what we would use like to see anything. It's like, TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, like all combined into one app. And that's like their main app that they use for every social media type thing. Yeah. But
honestly, better that it's all in one place. I mean, I guess that's kind of like, maybe not good.
yeah, yeah. It had like that's what I'll say. Like overall, the experience had its benefits, but also its negative sides too. But I was mostly just very homesick, like after a certain amount of time. And like I made good friendships, but like one of my friends, she had to leave. So, and she was like probably my closest friend there. So once she left, I was like, okay, I'm feeling like lost and like I felt like it was time for me to go. So, and they were very good about that. And I just, did everything I wanted to do. And then I got to come back home, you know?
Yes, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people don't get to experience that who don't like do that type of creative work. Instead of working on projects, it's like you're working forever. But I want to know about Princess Tiana. Like, I want to know how you felt when you booked that job.
Honestly, it was definitely like one of my dreams that I feel like I had as well, because I'll say it. I'm a Disney adult. I'll say it. I don't care. I don't care what judgment may fall upon me.
Mhm.
Okay. But, um, as I said, I was auditioning for Disney for quite a while. And my first thing, because I didn't know much about like the shows of Disney, but I knew that you could play a princess in Disney World. So I was like, oh yeah, let me just go to an audition and see if I can get cast as like because there's like face characters that do like the meet and greets and stuff, and that's what I originally auditioned for, was just to see if I could be Princess Tiana in that way. And then once they started coming up with shows that had Princess Tiana included, I was like, oh, I would rather do that because then I get to do what I love, sing, and be this character that I've always admired because she's the first Black princess, you know. And so being able to actually get the job was so like, I I actually have a video of when I got the email that I booked it, and it was like I was working for Disney Cruise Line, and it was like at 3 a.m. because of the time difference, but like there's we have like a crew area where we all get to like a crew bar basically. And
Yeah.
so, I had gone out with my friends and stuff when we were just like hanging after a show or whatever, and we had a good time. And then I like went back to my friend's cabin. We were like debriefing the night that we had, and then all of a sudden I get this email from them, and I just like it was a long night. I'll just say that. So like makeup, little crusty, looking crazy, and I get this email, and I think it was actually like a bad night. So then I got this email, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so great!" And I was crying, and I was looking crazy, but like I was just like, "I'm gonna be a princess," you know what I mean?
Working on the cruise line, like, how
Yeah,
is it just genuinely not being on land?
it is definitely like you're in your own bubble, basically. Like I feel like how people love Love Island and all that. It's kind of its own version of Love Island, if that makes sense, because
So
you're
that's
so secluded and like you just see the same people every single day for like
the
9 months.
proximity.
You're definitely in your own little villa, like Love Island. You're having to deal with people, the same people every single day. There's drama, there's love, there's fights, whatever. But along with that, you are like making magic for people every day, which is really nice. Um, because there's people that like have literally saved up so much money to like take these trips and like take their kids to see these princesses and, characters that they've looked up to and love so much. So that is something I do love about it. Like sometimes when you are having like that grueling day and you don't want to do that, like do the show or whatever, then you like actually do it. And like I got to be Mary Poppins and I got to like fly down. And so it's just, you're like seeing this happen and people are like, oh my God. And they're just like, so you just realize like, oh, like this is like the first time for them, even though you've done this like 100 times. And when you see like a happy audience member, it makes it worth it. You know what I mean? Like it pushes you through it. But ship life was definitely weird, especially my first contract. It was like the reopening of the ship after COVID. So we had tons of COVID protocols in place. We actually weren't allowed to get off the ship. So I was like on the ship consecutively for like maybe 4 or 5 months, 3, 4 or 5 months. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. So like that was like serious, like
Like
quarantine, you could
cabin
say.
fever, yeah.
Cabin fever for sure, for sure. But it was also cool because the first 2 months that we were on board, there weren't any guests because we were just trying to figure out like how to run everything. And so it was kind of like we were practicing how it would be with guests, but we got to be the guests for some stuff, which is cool. So we got to have like the nice dinners that like the guests enjoy and like see the entertainment that they would see and like just be like the test bunnies for it all. That was fun.
Mhm.
But the second contract that I did, I actually got to get off and like go to the different ports and like see different places and like do fun stuff. So I got to taste both sides.
Whenever you're done performing, are you walking around the cruise ship like in costume or
We're not in costume, but like we'll do like one show and then we have dinner and then we have another show. And sometimes they like recommend that you like walk because we have like this whole underground tunnel, not tunnel, it's literally just a hallway, but we call it the I-95. And you can like go down that way, it'll go throughout the entire ship to the other side. And that's because our the theater would be on one side of the ship and then the mess hall that we would eat would be on the other side. So they're like they recommend that you go down that way to get there, but sometimes we're like we just need some fresh air, so like we'll go outside in like our full beat face and like we're wearing wig caps and stuff, so we have to wear like either a hat or like a scarf or something, and so people will recognize us and be like, oh my god, we just saw them in a show, you know what I mean?
I was so curious about that because I was watching your reel and I was like, "Oh, this is a real like theater."
Disney really puts like their whole foot into it, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
they really be making it come alive, and it's really fun. I mean, you get to like see like the costumes up close that they use for like all these characters and like all the details and everything, and you're just like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm a part of it, you
Yeah.
know.
I know that from knowing you, you're a more introverted person, but
hmm
obviously you're doing such like an outwardly expressive career. Do you feel like those two sides of yourself like ever are in a fight?
Oh yeah, all the time. If anything, like the introverted side of me gets annoyed that the extrovert can't come out, like when I am in social situations and stuff sometimes. But I feel like when I am on stage, it's more of like an escape. Like I'm not Whitney. Do you know what I mean? So like it's fine what I do on stage because it's not Whitney. Like
Wow.
if that makes any sense. Like,
So Gemini of you. I've spent some time acting, but it's just so hard for me to like turn off my personal self. And I'm like, how do I put this mask on? Or like, how do I find this other person? Like, I feel like maybe I
mhm.
just haven't done it long enough, but that is
No, I
such a
mean,
hurdle.
and it's still hard for me to like because I did opera and stuff like that. I didn't get as much acting training, but I did get to take some classes because the department was nice. Um, but I still feel like trying to figure out like what I should be doing. It is a lot of me just taking context clues and looking at other people that I'm surrounded with. And I think that's something that's been great is that I've been able to work with people that have been on Broadway and stuff like that. And I get to see how they approach things, which is awesome to learn from.
Is there a character that you've played that's equally shaped who you are as an artist and as a person?
Oh my God. I don't know. Let me think about it. I'm like, who have I been? Yeah. I would say that like this is like one of my favorite characters that I've ever played, but I love who she is as a person. So I feel like I want to be more like that is Esmeralda in Hunchback. That was like one of my dream roles. I would love to do it again. But her character is so very much like standing up for what's right and like being like not being afraid to use your voice. And I feel like I've done a lot of like growth and like finding out who I am as a person in the past couple of years. I don't think when I played that part, I was in that stage of life yet, but I knew that's what I wanted to be like. And I'm still working. I am a bit more of a quiet person, but I do feel like now I'm better at like saying what's on my mind and not being afraid to speak up. You know? So that's a character that I still strive to be like more every single day. You know what I mean?
Right. And do you feel like maybe playing her was like the kickstart to become that person?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I feel like that role, like, I didn't really get to play leading roles like that often, you know? I've always been like in the ensemble or something. So for someone to be like, no, you are capable of this, it was like, oh, wait, I'm not less than. Like people do see my worth, and I think that culminated with playing a character like that who does know her worth definitely helped kickstart things, you know?
Well, how do you approach finding a character like emotionally while also focusing on like the technicalities of singing and dancing? Like I know that's the job, but is there something that you do to help get in that zone?
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get there, especially when you have your own things going on in life, you know?
Right.
But it is very much kind of like having to turn off like the outside noise and just, you know, tuning in to what's happening in the show in that moment, you know?
Right.
I mean, what's interesting is that a lot of the characters I played, it has been like more like fun, bubbly, like make magic Disney type things. Like even like with the children's theater, like you're playing these characters that are for kids. So I feel like I'm just now delving more into characters that, you know, could be seen as more serious and have like that have more of an arc, you know what I mean? And a purpose to their story. But um and also with that, I've been understudying a lot of characters in the shows that I've been doing now. So I get to do a lot of watching and seeing how other people like lock into their characters and everything. But it's an interesting process. Sometimes you have to use what's going on in your life too to also get there. You know, like if you are feeling emotional, take that and use that in the scene. I don't know. There's a lot of different techniques. And I feel like I'm still discovering that too.
Do you ever feel like there's like a technique that has worked for you for like 6 months and then one day you're like, oh, this is like, now I have to pivot? Or do you
Mm.
think that there's kind of something that you can tune into for the most part?
I don't really, I would say maybe this isn't as much for acting, but at least for singing, I know like sometimes like I'll be like completely set on like a vocal warm up and like this is what like, especially for working at Shanghai where I had to do the same song for like 5 times in a row. So you get into a routine of like, okay, let me do my vocal warm up beforehand and this is what I'm going to do. But then like after a certain amount of time, it just becomes so like repetitive that you're kind of like, wait, is this actually working anymore? Because like once I left that job and then I came back to New York and I was doing auditions for, you know, actual musical theater shows, I was like, this warm up is actually just isn't working to the type of shows that I'm doing now, you know? So I had to find a new routine and figure out like what would work best to, because in a way you kind of have to preserve your voice for like the show where you're doing it 5 times a day and you have to be able to sing it in a way that your voice won't give out. So I felt like it was a lot of preservation for that role, but like for the roles I do now, it required, I guess, more range, if that makes any sense. So I have to find a different vocal warm up for those type of shows.
But
Yeah.
that leads me to my next question because, like, you can get not stuck, stuck is the wrong word, but you do, multiple shows per week. And you mentioned preservation, but what are some things that you also do to help take care of yourself? Because sometimes you're actually physically traveling too, which can just be a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like when I'm doing shows, a lot of times you're like making friends with the cast and you want to like hang out with them and do all these things, but then sometimes you just have to be like, I actually need to rest, you know? Like honestly, resting your voice, like not going full out, like trying not to yell all the time or, you know, like just actually just taking time to just be silent is very helpful when you're in musical theater, you know? I mean, I should do this more often, but like it's usually when I'm sick when I'm like, okay, let me do my tea, let me use we have like nebulizers and like, you know, mists and things like that to help with the vocal cords and everything. You know, there's people that do that like every day before a show and like everyone has their own little ritual, but I mean, the main thing is truly rest is the best way to like help, like if you're going through anything vocally or even full body.
What was the last thing you saw on or off Broadway that really inspired you, and
Mm.
why?
Well, I actually just saw Buena Vista Social Club last week, and it was up for a lot of Tony Awards, and it won a couple of Tony Awards this past season. And I'll be completely honest, when I like heard about it, I was like, I don't know what this show is because there's another show that also like debuted on Broadway called Real Women Have Curves, and they had very similar marketing, and it is about like Latina culture. So I got the two of them confused sometimes. And so it just didn't really speak to me, but I like won lottery tickets and I went to see the show and I was like, "Oh my god, everyone needs to see this show." Cuz I got to sit in the very front row, and so I was like right up in the action and I could see like every single character and like what choices they were making and stuff like that. And the main character, I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head, but it's about her story. She's like a actual singer um, from Cuba, and it kind of tells her story of how like when the wars were going on in Cuba, her and her sister were like in a girl group together, and they were gonna leave to go to America to like start like their own like get signed with the label and like record their own music and everything. But the lead girl, she like discovers, this club that is playing music that feels more like her, like it's giving more like of the Cuban culture. And because the music that her and her sister were doing was like catered to, you know, white people and like just what they would want to see. And she was like, no, actually, this feels like me. This feels like my culture, my heritage. And so when they were supposed to take that flight to go to leave to start their music, she decides to stay, even with the wars going on and everything. And she ends up getting signed by another label and putting out music that she loves. But you kind of like see her battle with the fact that she had to leave her sister and they never saw each other again. And so the woman that was playing that character literally like it was like maybe the second scene in the show and she was already crying, and I was just like, oh my god, like to be able to activate and get to
Yeah.
that level is a difficult thing to do. And it was just like so many scenes where like, and it wasn't giving like, oh, can just turn this on and like start crying like as if it's like a a little trick that she has, but it was giving like, no, she was emotionally invested in every scene, and like the tears were there for a reason, so that was truly inspiring to see someone be able to do that. And they have to do that like 7, 8 times a week.
Yes. Do you think musical theater plays a role in shaping society and creating cultural conversations?
Mm, I definitely think so. I do think a lot of musical theater is representative of what's going on in the world, in the country. Um, I mean, there's a lot of shows that, like, even if they've been written like 50 years ago and like they do a revival, they still like the same things are still happening in society right now. Um, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like I know there's lots of things happening, but like I'll like Ragtime is about to come back for it to do like a revival at Lincoln Center. They did like a smaller version at I hope I'm not saying this wrong. I think at New York City Center last year, I believe. And I didn't get to see it, but I really wanted to because Ragtime is one of my favorite shows. That's like a show that I would love to be in. But the topics during that or in that show, it's about like all of these what's immigrants coming to America and like wanting to start a life and like create something for themselves, but you see like all of the racism and like the the things that keep pushing them back down, and like they're just trying to, you know, have the American dream that's allegedly supposed to happen when you move here, and you just see like all of the trials and things that they go through. And that's still something that we're dealing with today in our country. And it was just so sad. But I think if people get the opportunity to see works like that, they get to, evaluate like, what am I doing in my life? Like, what can I do to, not repeat history? You know what I mean? So I think musical theater is a great way for people to watch it and like sort of ask questions and start conversation, you know?
Yeah. How do you see theater evolving in the next 10 years?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of crazy the amount of like technology, AI, and like all of that is being not even just in theater, but like with scripts, like for TV and things. Like, people are using AI to write scripts now. And like, there's a lot of TV that's becoming like the shorts for like TikTok and stuff. So you do have to wonder, like, is there a route where musical theater, I mean, I know a lot of people want more accessibility for musical theater because there are people who can't come to New York and see shows because it's just not in their price range or anything. But so you
Right,
do have to wonder, like, will there be more of like getting pro shots of a show that can be sold to people that can't come to New York in that sort of thing? Like what
right.
route that will go down. And honestly, I think that is a great way to like expose musical theater to more people. So
Yeah,
in that way, I would like it, but AI is a bit scary, and you kind of hope that they don't like start making holographics and they are the ones performing on stage and not us
yeah.
anymore. So in that
I
way, I hope it doesn't go down that route.
Right. No, AI will never be able to live up to a talented individual, a human individual. Never. I am like, I have so many things to say about that, but
Yeah.
no, I can never replace you.
Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Whitney, where can the people find you and should they keep an eye out for anything from you?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can follow me on Instagram. My random name is Whitney, a
It's
nickname I got back
random.
in like middle school. But you can follow me on Instagram. I also host a little podcast of my own, although we haven't done episodes lately because life has been lifing. But we talk about musical theater and reality TV. It's called Reality Showgirls. I do it with my roommate, Eleni, that I met on Disney Cruise Line. It's a good
Oh
hoot and
my
holler
God,
and
what?
time.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that's how you guys met.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
My
She was
goodness.
good friends with Belle and Princess Jasmine. So, yeah. Um, and where else? If you'd like to look at my website to get more about my theater life,
Oh.
whitneybdaniels.com. Take a look. Oh, I guess I should also say, and I mean, it's not announced yet, but you might see me out in a city near you on a tour very soon.
Oh my God, it's been such a pleasure talking with you.
You
I
too.
am very excited because I don't talk about musical theater too much. I don't know too much, but I have listened to your podcast before. I do love just how, well, I mean, I know a lot more musical theater people in my life now, and just like you guys really love that art form, and it's made me love that art form more. So,
Oh, I love that. We're a little crazy, so
no, being around performers really shows you that people just be playing. Like people in real life just be playing around. Like you guys really make me giggle.
yeah.
Whitney, thank you so much. This has been great talking
Thank
to you.
you. Yeah.
You have the best day.
Thank you. You too. It was so great being on. I love chatting with you.